Michael Bisping believes fighting Tony Ferguson is a lose-lose situation for Paddy Pimblett. Paddy versus Tony goes down at UFC 296 on December 16th. On his YouTube channel, Bisping said he's a fighter, man. He will fight tooth and nail. You literally have to finish Tony Ferguson to get him to stop coming forward. There is no quitting that man. At 39, yeah, of course he's taken a lot of damage, but also he has a lot of experience. Tony Ferguson is still a dangerous man. Make no mistake about that. And it's a really, really tough spot for Paddy Pimblett, because it's a lose-lose, right? Already there's people out there talking shit, saying, nah, they're just giving Paddy somebody easy. Tony Ferguson is not easy. He's not an easy fight for anyone. But because he's lost 6 fights in a row, if Pimblett goes out there and wins, well, then guess what everybody's going to say? Well, of course you just beat Tony Ferguson. He's lost his last 6 in a row. He's been finished the last 3 times in a row. After Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series last night, Dana at the post-event presser went over a few topics. Dana gives his reaction to Israel Adesanya pleading guilty to the DUI. Dana also gives his take on the backlash over booking Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. He says if Tony does lose, he hopes he retires.
I think a lot of people think that Paddy is unproven, and I think a lot of people feel like this is a fight that Tony isn't in deep water like he's been in his last several fights. I think the matchmaking and the timing on this fight is excellent and couldn't be more perfect. You know, if you look at Tony's last few fights that he's fought, he looked damn good before, you know, the Chandler finish. You know, and every fight that he's fought in the last, you know, 2 or 3 fights, he looked damn good right up until the end. So it's a fun, interesting fight with 2 fun and interesting characters.
If Tony should lose that fight against Paddy, what's next for Tony after that?
Yeah, I mean, I would let Tony make that decision, but I'm sure if he loses to Paddy, he would probably look at calling it. He's had a great career. You know, done a lot of things, had a lot of big fights, and probably be a wrap for him, hopefully.
Dana, since you mentioned Izzy, he did an interview for his YouTube channel talking about his loss to Sean Strickland. Then it came out that he was pulled over for a drunk driving charge before that. I don't know what your thoughts on that. Did you think it affected the fight, that whole thing maybe weighing on his psyche going into the fight? And I guess your thoughts on Izzy right now.
Yeah, no, I think that bad decisions, man. You know what I mean? No matter how many drinks you've had, if you drink, don't drive, man. It's just, and especially, it's one thing, Ubering is easy and all this other stuff, but when you have that kind of money that kid has, get a driver, have somebody drive you, or Uber or whatever. He made a bad decision. Thank God nobody was hurt, him or anybody else. And you know what I say about mistakes. How do you handle them after you make them? So hopefully that's a one and done for him, and he never does it again.
Stephen Thompson believes a win over Shavkat Rakhmonov will grant him a title shot. Wonderboy is looking to fight the winner of Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Wonderboy said, I do believe that they're going to. I think the deal is, when I fight Shavkat, they're going to add on what they owed me for the last fight. I don't think they're bribing me, but it was the fact that I wanted somebody. Okay, so there was this thing about Usman after that fight. Usman called me out, and I wanted that fight. But the UFC kept coming back and saying, no, Usman's not going to fight you. He's going to fight somebody else. So there's a lot going on. Then Ian Gary fights and beats Neil Magny, and he calls me out, obviously. And then I get a call from the UFC saying, hey, fight Ian Gary at MSG. I'm like, no, I'm done fighting these guys that are ranked below me. Give me somebody that's ranked above me. People are looking at this guy, undefeated, 100% finish rate. Nobody wants to fight this guy, so here I am. I'm like, you know, do I fight somebody ranked below me? Do I fight somebody ranked above me? Probably one of the toughest guys in the division who nobody wants to fight. I'll fight Shavkat. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. I believe if I go out there and I beat this guy, he should be fighting for the title after this fight with Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. I think Shavkat's got it if he wins, so if I beat this guy, I'm looking at another title shot again. Josh Thompson reveals he recently had a conversation with Dustin Poirier at the airport. Josh thinks Dustin may move up and fight Colby Covington for the welterweight belt if he defeats Leon Edwards.
Look, I mean, I had a good chance to chat just real quick with Dustin while we were at the airport, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't give Dustin a title shot. You know, I think if after whoever fights, so Charles fights this one right here, right? And then I think Justin's gonna get the next title shot. There's no one really there for Dustin to fight. Maybe you have him fight Beneil Dariush, but like Dustin's kind of, I think, at the point in his career
Dustin has fought.
Yeah,
everybody.
he wants the biggest fight you could potentially give him. You know, and
You can't blame him.
Dariush isn't the biggest fight for him anymore. It was right maybe before that, but Justin was actually the bigger fight. That's why he fought Justin. Came up short. You know, maybe he fights, you know, Charles. If Charles loses, you know, then that puts him right there as being next in line for another title shot. I don't know. But I'm looking at all this, I think you put Gamrot. I'd like to see Gamrot and Chandler, because Chandler's kind of in that no man's land. And you know, if I'm talking about
Gamrot and Dustin, they're both from ATT. I'm not saying they won't fight. But
yeah, I actually, but I don't think Dustin would take that fight. He's not ranked high enough. He hasn't beat any big names. This is his biggest name he's beaten, and Sarukian, and that was a very close fight, by the way. And so I think for Dustin, he's like, nah, I'm looking for the Charles and the Islam, and if I got to run it back with Justin again, he'll do that. I think below Dariush and Chandler and those guys I don't think he's really feeling it. I need a big money fight. And that's why I think there might be potential for him to possibly go up in weight. And I think if Colby does win, I could see Dustin going, you know what, for the title at 170, I might go up there. And fight Colby.
Alex Pereira's girlfriend watches him while he's on his phone. Dana White calls Mark Hunt delusional following the news of him losing yet another lawsuit to the UFC. Mark accused the UFC of knowing that Brock Lesnar was taking PEDs prior to their fight at UFC 200.
Last thing I would ask you, the Mark Hunt lawsuit got dismissed today. Just curious if you had any comments about that now that it's in the rearview mirror.
I mean, it's never been. Listen, Mark Hunt he's lost so many lawsuits against us. It's insane. He's a bit of a delusional guy. You know, he's going to have to pay some legal fees.
Mark Hunt posted this to his Instagram following Dana White's presser. In the caption he wrote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who was actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, but there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post future ones. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Nate Marks. Says, "I hope Chael is right about Tony defeating Paddy." The second one's from Zexter33. Says, "I can already imagine how pissed Dana will be if Tony actually does beat Paddy." And the final one's from Smallmouth City. Says, "Funny thing about Tony's 6-fight losing streak is the fact that since 2017, he still has 2 more wins than Conor." Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured on the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. If you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen to get caught up. And make sure to go subscribe to our second channel where we post our exclusive MMA interviews.